Well, well, well. Guess who's back, at least for today? Welcome to another 5-star edition of Props to Consider and Then Maybe Bet. I am your host. I am the paragon of virtue. I am Lou Betya. Before I bring on my guests, couple little house cleaning pieces of business. Number one, I'm coming off a pretty big week. I'm feeling pretty good. Johnny Parsons got that bag, not just for me, but for the United States of America. Very happy. And now let's talk about the content schedule going forward real quick. So this is what it's looking like I'm going to do go forward. I don't know what I'm doing with this show yet. Mike's doing a really good job. He's taking his bar exam this week in bird law or some shit. But more importantly, he told me I can now commit all the crimes I want. And he's going to bail me out. And because I let him host the show a few weeks, it's free of charge. It's awesome. So I have a free lawyer, like Barry Zuckerkorn. He's very, very good. Monk and I are talking about late Thursday night doing the happy hour. His availability's kind of hit or miss doing normal business hours. So late night happy hour. The Friday slot that I've been doing at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to change it. I'm still going to do it, but it's going to become a best bet show for the weekend, and not just for MMA, for soccer, for NFL, for college football. I'm going to have guests. Whatever sports they like to bet, whatever bets they like for the weekend, they'll be giving their best bets out. It's going to be fun. I'll make sure I'm drinking. I'll keep the charm of the old show. But that's my house cleaning. Great to see you guys all in chat. Thank you for spending time out of your life with me. My guest, this is long overdue. One of my favorite people in the community, one of the hardest working people in the community. He's an interviewer. He's a content creator. Average carpentry skills, bullfighting. What doesn't he do? Ben the Bane Davis. Ben, welcome to the show. Thanks for spending time with me today. How are you doing? And how are you feeling about this card from a fan and a betting perspective?
Lou, it's great to be here. I truly appreciate the invite. Certainly long overdue, and we get to end that today. From a fan perspective, UFC 291 kind of has a bit of everything. You know what I mean? You've got some heavyweight action that could either end early or go the full 15 in a really boring affair. You've got a co-main and a main that I can't imagine going the distance. These guys are all finishers in those top slots. And I think the prelims and early prelims also have a lot to love. You know, some good prospects, some good names that have been churning out some decent results in the UFC. And I'm anticipating a couple statement performances this Saturday night.
I'd love to hear it. Let me give a quick shout out to the chat. We got Dixon in here. He's in all of our chats. We got Aaron the dog, Kiwi, who just said he got his tickets to, I believe, 293. I can't remember. Ooh. We got Kristen in the chat. We got MMA Propaholic. We got Glenn Bott. We got Alex Ramirez, whose balls I busted because he posted everybody's tweets in our group chat, except this one. Thank you guys for spending time. Before we get started, there is one thing I always wanted to ask Ben, and that is, you don't see people at this stage. When I started my career as a program in IT, they let me do a lot of different things. Then the market got bonked. And then you could only have to do one thing and you had to do it well. Mm-hmm. But you're right now kind of a jack of all trades. You're doing commentary. You're getting your balls busted by CM Punk. By the way, Punk, if I ever see you, we got words, son. But where do you you have an end game here, or you just like being involved in all these different facets of the game?
It's a yes and no. I mean, I think that the evolution of my activity in the MMA scene has kind of been on display from the beginning, which is a pro and a con. People have gotten to see me evolve and be interested in different things. But the same notion, everything's in the court of public opinion. So when I was doing the media stuff for 18 months, that was all just out in front of people. And now transition to the commentating, it's all out in front of people. And it's hard to say long term, but I will go on record and I think play-by-play is the calling, and I truly hope that down the line you'll see me in some major promotion in some way, shape, or form.
If that happens, and I do believe it will, you have my permission to use yam bags on air. Make it a cultural thing, because I have been annoying the shit out of Bisping to use it, and he doesn't care. He just thinks he must think I'm like Sadiq Youssef's fourth burner account. He just refuses to acknowledge that I want this. But anyway, let's get to business here. If this is your first time tuning into the show, we're going to break down 4 fights that aren't the main event, talk about our favorite props. We're going to get to the main event. We're going to end in a flourish with the yam bag special. Then we're all going to go and do whatever the hell people do.
We're going to fuck off and have a good Wednesday.
Fuck off. We're going to fuck off and have a blast. Maybe watch the USA women with a 1-1 draw tonight against the Netherlands, because I don't know how to bet that game. But anyway, Ben, what is the first prop to consider and then maybe bet that you have for us?
I think the biggest one that I really love in this fight between Kevin Holland and Michael Chiesa is Holland by sub at plus 500. The biggest thing that pops off the page for me is Michael Chiesa being submitted in 4 out of his 6 losses. It's the historical pathway to victory against the Maverick. And Holland has a 6.5-inch reach advantage with 20 finishes and 24 wins. I know that the Trailblazer likes ending it early, but here's where the X factor comes in and why I'm leaning sub at such an inflated prop rate is because Chiesa's never been really knocked out. He's never been knocked down even, right? The only TKO loss he has was a doctor stoppage to Joe Lozon way back in the fucking day that really wasn't that impactful of a strike. It was just a bad cut. So I know Mike has a good chin. He's durable. That's why I think Holland's going to club and sub and cash that plus 500 prop.
All right. Well, we are starting out with a shared prop since I have the exact same play as one of my 4. It's plus 550 on FanDuel. So here's what I want to add to it. The one narrative you hear a lot this week is, well, Holland's fight IQ is really bad. And like, yes, he's shown some, suspect fight IQ in his career. Can you point out where Chiesa's had really good fight IQ? Because this is the part I don't understand. This is a guy who, everybody's saying, oh, well, he has a huge advantage in the grappling here. Well, he's been submitted 4 times because he makes mistakes on the ground. And truth be told, the only time I think he's good at grappling is when he gets the back. If he has top control, he gets thrown off. And as far as Kevin Holland goes, look, man, he knew this was a big liability. He went against Brunson. He got mauled. I don't know what he's supposed to do there. I know he lost in the first round to Khamzat, but my God, for 3 minutes, he was scrambling out of everything. That was an incredible performance against a guy who is just an elite grappler, in my opinion. On the feet, this is a one-way traffic. And then also, Chiesa hasn't fought in a while either. So he's been too busy in the studio, hitting on minty bets probably. I don't know. I don't have insight into this. I assume that's what you do if you're there. So I just don't see Chiesa having 10 minutes of control. And I see Holland as a guy who's constantly improving, who's constantly looking to evolve. That's the one thing in his game that he's been working on. So I'm with you, man. I love the Holland sub. Plus 550 is fine. I don't need to play a round prop. It's good as it is. But we each start with the same one.
And I love that we had the same concern, and the numbers on it do suggest what we're thinking. Chiesa's landed 21 takedowns in those last 6 fights. Holland was taken down 11 times by Vettori, 6 by Brunson, 2 by Means, 2 by Cowboy Oliveira. The narrative is there, but you said evolve, and I love that word. I mean, Holland's dangerous off his back, and the control time has never really been consistent for Chiesa. So it just, I don't know. Inside the distance is plus 110. I don't know if you looked at that one, but I'm like, I'd rather go with sub. I just don't see a KO here.
Well, I already bet the in the distance as well because I'm a maniac here. But do I think it's gonna be like the Magny fight? No, not at all. Because Magny just gets you against the cage, makes it ugly, doesn't really try to finish you, just tries to eat up the clock. Holland is just not that guy. And yeah, am I a Holland simp? A little bit, but we got much in the chat. All right, let me get to my next prop. So now it's gonna get weird. So I like Darius Flowers by round 1 KO. It's plus 700 on DraftKings. I'm not impressed with Jake Matthews. I never really have been. He's getting overpriced, and the market's starting to come in on Flowers a little bit. Flowers is taking this on short notice. Guess what? Flowers takes most of his fights on short notice. So I'm not really worried about that. I also think that Flowers win equity in general, whether it's short notice or altitude, non-altitude, plenty of time to prep. Flowers' win condition is first 5-6 minutes of the fight to get a knockout. He hits really hard. I think Matthews is kind of a slow starter in general. And Matthews is also coming off. I realize it's Semmelsberger who hits hard. But so does Flowers. And Matthews is coming off a fight where he got knocked down 3 times. I do think Flowers can knock him down. I think he can put him away. The round 1 KOs plus 700. I feel like it's his win condition. So I'm going to take a stab on it. In general, I think this line is just a little too wide. Now the market's starting to agree. But I don't really know how Flowers wins a decision. And his KO prop's only plus 300. And I don't want to give away a plus 300 on the show. I want to give away a plus 700. It pays more. So Darius Flowers, round 1 KO. Do you have any thoughts on that fight at all?
I was looking into it. The Celtic kid's simply too inconsistent. That's kind of my one takeaway from Jake Matthews over his career. It's either going to be like a really great performance over Andre Fialho, or he just looks ineffective over 3 rounds against Semmelsberger, who I like, but Semmelsberger hasn't really fought the greatest competition. So for, Matthews to struggle that much, I'm like, come on, man, be consistent. Give me something that I can latch onto every fight, but I haven't had that. And I think Darius Flowers has 7 first-round KOs or 8. Like, it's a stupid number. It's a dumb fucking number. So I'm like, I agree with that. I don't have any dog in that race, but I do think that if you're going to look at that, it's KO or bust for the underdog.
Yeah, and also I just want to mention that I always confuse him and Jose Johnson, and because Jose Johnson is the one that had the 2, let's say, ladies of the night at cage side when he had his Contender Series fight. I always thought it was Flowers on the Ho train there, but he's probably a really happily married man, and I feel bad.
With a name like Flowers, yeah, I'm sure it's all right back at home.
I know Aaron. I know our friend Aaron the dog will be happy to know that I'm on the Flowers Round One Co. All right, Ben, you are up next. What's your next prop to consider for this?
So I'm going to preface this. A lot of my plays aren't as wild as the plus 700s or the crazy ones. I wanted to go a little bit into the deep waters, but
it'll come with it. It'll come with age.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe in a couple of years, Lou, you have me on and I'll be like, here's a plus 32,000 parlay that's certainly going to hit. Who knows? But Bobby Green by KO. I know that Green's not necessarily a knockout artist. That Ally Aquita performance isn't something he's really replicated a lot, but he's outstruck his last 12 out of 13 opponents, the lone exception being the champ, Islam Makhachev. No shame there. Ferguson's been outstruck by his last 5 opponents. So we know prime Tony, right? The Tony that we love from 229 was Mr. Activity, right? Throwing everything and anything. Again, that's not the guy that we see these days. He's way past it. And they got a lot of scar tissue. I don't like how easily he's getting cut. And Bobby Green is a dude with the activity, with the volume. He's going to lacerate you. So I can see this going one of 2 ways. Tony just eating a ton of straight punches, trying to leg kick his way into combinations and falling over and dying. Or the doctor stepping in at some point over the course of 15 minutes and going, listen, your face is falling off. I'm going to fucking call this. How about you retire? Green by KO plus 165. I like that.
Yeah, I think this is the end of Ferguson. I agree with that as well. I don't really like the money line here. That's if you got it, I think like Pepe Silvia got it at minus 110 when they first came out, and that's amazing. But in general, I don't really like betting money lines that wide unless I think it's like such a smash spot. If Green had like tremendous grappling upside here, I think it's fine. But considering it's going to be a striking battle, but I'm with you. I think he volume, and usually Green is just a volume guy, but man, that Gaethje fight just ruined his life. I think it ruined Ferguson. Hey man, you see them boxing a lot too. I think that's just a fight that
it's the tip of the iceberg. That was it. Now he's on the downhill, and I don't know. I think people put way too much stock in that first round against Chandler, and similarly, they put way too much stock in Green's last outing against Jared Gordon. Gordon is a unbelievably underrated guy. I mean, he's a consistent dude at that division, and people say, oh, well, Green looked washed as well. No, he didn't. It was a close fight. He fucking threw a headbutt and killed Jared Gordon. Sorry, there's not much to take away from either of those 2 things that I keep seeing this week. And so the court of public opinion in my mind is a bit off this one. And but I'll set it to you, Betcha. What do you got in your next prop?
Oh, thank you. Are you auditioning here? With you and Couch can take it over. I'm going to go with Blachowicz sub at plus 550. It's also on FanDuel. It's 500 on DK. Look, this is whoever side you take here, you're going to have a clenched butthole because every second it's on the feet, you're worried that Blachowicz could die, even if he's going for leg kicks. Pereira's good at checking. They're both good at checking leg kicks. So, but the clear path for the veteran Blachowicz here is take him to the ground. His takedown defense has been terrible. Mikulaitis took him down. I know it's his first fight. I get it. But Adesanya, D1 Adesanya was having no problem taking him to the ground. Blachowicz has got to know, especially at 40 years old, he's got to preserve himself. He can't afford to take any bombs here. The one thing that I would say is Pereira having the extra 20 pounds. Well, he's going to be more than 205 when this fight starts. Let's face it. But so it's a lot more mass for Blachowicz. If he does struggle early, he could get gassed. But I really just think he's going to get the first takedown he tries here. And eventually, and he'll hold him down for the whole round. I don't think Pereira's going to have any kind of get-up game for Blachowicz. At some point, he's going to make some mistake trying to get up. He's going to give his back up. And I think Blachowicz chokes him out. So plus 550 for me. And we got Brady in the room. He is going to consider some of these bets. I bet he's not going to bet them, but Brady definitely a fan of the guest that we have on the channel today, as am I. But that's it for that one. Short and sweet. Pereira, look, I don't care. Just wait till Bo Nickel moves up and ruins all their lives.
They're going to kick Pereira back to LFA and back to glory once Bo Nickel gets into those rankings, man.
Trump's favorite fighter, Bo Nickel, everybody. All right, Ben, what do you got for the next prop for us?
The next one, I want to take it deep into the prelims. Miranda Maverick by submission. Now, Priscilla Catchway has been submitted twice. Both were rear naked chokes inside the UFC. Jillian Robertson and Valentina Shevchenko. Two high-level gals. Robertson, a submission specialist, no shame there. But what I want to turn your attention to is Miranda Maverick's 5 rear naked chokes inside her competitive career. This is a move she's excelled at. It's a move we've seen Catchway suffer in. And if it's not a rear naked choke, Maverick's got 12 submissions overall. So there is a well of finishing maneuvers that Maverick has. And I know that she's going to get this one to the ground. Priscilla's coming down to 125. She's kind of struggled with the weight. I'm going to imagine she's going to be a bit compromised. Maverick's going to ground her. And traditionally, when you look at the control time for both ladies and the takedown defense of Catchway, when Priscilla goes down, she has a hard time getting back up. When Maverick puts girls down, they have a hard time getting back up. So I kind of foresee a submission here and sub round 2 plus 650, sub round 3 for the Maverick plus 1200. So I told you I wasn't going to get too crazy, but I kind of like those stabs. Priscilla's a thoroughbred girl. I think that she can certainly survive past those first 5 minutes, but she's going to hit the mat once again. And it's not a question of when or if, it's just what time does the tap occur for the Maverick.
Yeah, I see Sean's asking if I'm on Priscilla. I have to say that Catchway fights have been very profitable for me in the long run.
4 times as an underdog. 4 times as an underdog. I can't, knock how much he's cashed it, but
so for me, like, I'm playing the under. It's minus 110. It's crazy reasonable, but yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I don't think Catchway's takedown defense is terrible. I think her get-up game's bad. So I think her first level takedown defense is actually a little better than people think. But I also think that Maverick could just probably tag her on the feet with fists because her striking defense, I believe, is 0. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's 0. And yeah, this Denise Gomes cash was tremendous for me. I was a very big fan of having that. I was one of the few people on her in that one. But all right, let me move on to my 4th and final prop on the card that is not the main event. I'm going to go with Alfonso Ribeiro. I know it's not his name. Just leave me alone. Alfonso Ribeiro, KO2 at plus 850. So this is one of the hot button ones on the card. I really like the violence plays in this period. I get that people are on Kopylov here. I have a few reasons why I like Ribeiro and specifically why round 2. So yeah, Kopylov looked pretty good against Punahele, but I think Soriano is just a very limited one-dimensional striker. He's every guy they get in the Contender Series. He's just a dude with power that has limited movement, allegedly has wrestling. That's what I think Soriano is. I mean, Brendan Allen was able just to wreck this guy on the feet without even trying any takedown. So I think that Kopylov, look, man, he worked the body. He was definitely the faster guy. That's fine. The argument against Ribeiro people are making is, he started looking gassed in the second round of the Holmes fight. Well, but there was a lot of grappling going on. I don't see that here. I also think Ribeiro is going to work the leg kicks. He's going to bank them. You have 2 guys who are pretty good strikers. Kopilov's jabs are really good. Ribeiro's going to have to be careful. And every time he goes for a leg kick, he's not getting jabbed to death. But I do think when you see guys that have finishing ability, that have really good striking, I think you do see kind of like a feeling out process. So I don't like the first round here for a finish. Also, anybody that's a fan of the show knows I'll bet round 2 over round 1 any day because round 2 pays more. So plus 850 for the Ribeiro round 2 KO. If this thing gets into the 3rd round, I'm probably losing a ton of bets because I fight doesn't start round 3. I have the unders. I have all this crap. But I think Ribeiro is going to be dynamic. I think his cardio is just a little better than people think. But also, man, we're at altitude, and it's unpredictable how certain people are going to respond to this. So Kopylov has shown better cardio, even the Darius fight. But I think that Darius fight, they could have stopped that one too. So give me Ribeiro round 2 KO on one of the first fights tonight. All right, Ben.
I think elevation is something that we haven't talked about a lot yet, but in that fight specifically, I think there's going to be some stamina drop off for one of the guys, and the other guy's just going to completely take over.
Letting my guy Sean here know that we close with the point deduction. That's the main. That's the main event after the main event.
That's the true main event, man. Is the yam bag? I mean, come on.
I see Asher saying Rivera decision. Oh man, that would suck for me if that happened. But if Kopylov shows some toughness here, Rivera would have to bank the first 2 rounds and then run like Chelsea Chandler and get away. But all right, Ben, what's your 4th and final prop before we get to the main event?
My 4th and final prop is one that's going to be a little bit unpopular. I know that we all love Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but I'm picking Michel Pereira by decision at plus 275. Pereira by split decision at plus 1100. Now, Wonderboy's coming off that awesome 4th round TKO against Kevin Holland. That was December 2022. Michel's coming off of a split decision win over Santiago Ponzinibbio in May of last year. So it's been about a year since we've seen the Brazilian, but he's only 29. Wonderboy's 40. So statistically,
how is he 29?
It's ridiculous. I have no fucking clue. I'm like, this guy is either stem cell through the roof or he's lying about his age.
He's 29, so am I.
I thought you're 24.
Thank
I mean,
you
look
young. Get you everywhere. You really are going to be the new host of this show. Sorry, Mike.
I think one of the big narratives about this is that both guys have gone to the scorecards 31 times between them. Michel's 11-7 when it goes to decision. Wonderboy's 8-5. Wonderboy hasn't gotten a finish since 2016. Before that Kevin Holland fight, and again, we talked about Holland's IQ. He could have grappled, but they had that stupid gentleman's agreement, and I think it led to Kevin Holland's downfall. And it wasn't a true like how that fight should have gone, right? Michel. People know him as Mr. Flash, Mr. Style, Mr. Burn My Cardio. That's not who he's been over the last 4 fights. He's gone to the scorecards, winning them all, and he's on a 5-fight win streak. That first one being that submission victory in round number 3, bit controversial, because he learned from the decision loss to Tristan Connolly. That was another one at elevation, blew his load immediately, lost on the scorecards, and went, fuck, I got to change my game plan, and he has. Wonderboy was taken down 10 times by Bilal and Gilbert, controlled for 20 minutes between both fights. Michel's landed 7 out of his 13 takedown attempts over the last 5 fights. So I think that the numbers suggest that at elevation, Michel Pereira is going to recognize, I don't have the stamina to be flashy. This guy's a better striker than me, and I know what he did to Kevin Holland, who's probably on the same level of striking as Michel. So Pereira is going to make the smart, disciplined game plan like he's shown over the last 5 fights, get this to the scorecards, and scrape by with a boring decision victory. That's kind of my thought on it.
So I took a bet on Pereira early in the week. The one thing that concerns me here is that, because I agree with you, he's going to have to implement some kind of grappling. If this is 15 minutes of kickboxing, Wonderboy even at 40 should piece him up and get stronger as the fight goes on. What I worry about, getting back to the elevation, does Pereira, he can't really screw around. Like, if he gets a takedown, he hasn't been great with top time and control time. But, man, Wonderboy's get-up game has never been great. So, Pereira, if he gets these takedowns, he cannot make it where he's getting 3 takedowns in a round. He has to get a takedown, minimize the amount of energy he uses, and I do think he can ride out a few rounds. But you know who the last guy he knocked out was Danny Roberts.
Yeah, and that was the debut. So years and years and years ago.
You know who the last guy to knock out Danny Roberts was?
Johnny Parsons, baby.
Johnny, by God, Parsons. I don't know if this is why Wheezy isn't in the chat, but I assume part of it is he knew the storm of shit that was coming for me about this Parsons. I have like an 18-month joke with Wheezy, and the joke would have ended if he lost. And now it's just going to be months and months more torture. Basically, I hope he never fights again. He just keeps having fights and they keep getting postponed. I'd be like, oh, but this will go on. So anyway, we have reached the main event. We got 24 of you live in the chat. Thank you guys. I know it's like a weird start time, but Ben's got shit to do later, and I don't want to compete with certain people in the space. So I thought this was a nice niche time. But let's get to why we're all here in the main event, at least. Justin Gaethje against Dustin Poirier. I have an interesting way to bet this, but I'm going to let you start. Who do you have, and how do you think it ends? And do you think it's violent?
It's going to be so violent. I mean, I know that the BMF belt is quite stupid, but it is the quite literal personification of badass motherfuckers, and these 2 lightweights fit that description like nobody else. I do have Dustin Poirier pulling a 2-peat against my Arizonan brother, Justin Gaethje, and I got him by KO. Plus 175. I think that this is a really good number, and especially rounds 3 and 4 at plus 650. Poirier's got 15 TKOs. He knocked out Gaethje once before. I did a rewatch of their first fight the other day, and round by round, Poirier was unbelievably in control of the striking. Gaethje was whiffing on a lot of shots, didn't establish anything outside of the leg kicks. Dustin Poirier had very little concern outside of a lone slip right hand in round number 3 that Gaethje was able to catch him with, which Poirier shrugged off and got back to work. So I don't think, while it was 5 years ago, they're going to be the same. I know each guy's evolved, but I think Poirier's fought slightly better competition since then. And Gaethje, in my opinion, isn't as further developed, right? He just discovered the jab in round 3 against Fiziev. So I doubt that that's one weapon he's going to be able to implement, one I would suggest. But for me, I think Dustin's going to come in here, address the leg kicks better. And I think he's going to throw a lot more of his own, which is what he should certainly do. And I think the grappling is going to be a bit more of a concern. I think he's going to recognize if I can kind of mix in the clinching, the Muay Thai, right, get that collar tie and work the elbows and the knees on the inside. Yeah, that was successful in the first fight. I think he's going to do more of that in the second one because it's elevation, Lou Betya. And I know that these guys have good cardio, but why fucking mess around? These people threw over 300 strikes their first time. I don't see that occurring again, but I do see Dustin Poirier finishing once more in rounds 3 or 4.
This is the first time I've ever had anybody on the show that had the same energy level as me, and I fucking love it. I'm here for it. So I'm going to give you guys a different way to bet. I see some people in the chat talking about the submission prop for Poirier. I get it. I kind of feel like they just don't want to grapple here. I also see what Propaholic said. I'm going to raise him a little bit, but I'm going to play off this. So I think Gaethje is going to win, and I have zero logic. I just like it. I feel like I don't even want to say he's like the hungrier guy. Like it's hard to really describe it, but like I feel like he has more to go through on tape that he could change. Like right now, he's got to avoid the body shots. It's going to be the big thing they've had to work on all camp. But I don't really know what Poirier changes in his approach. But here's a way you can bet it and get about plus 375 odds. Both guys, and this is on FanDuel, Gaethje 345 KOs plus 800. Poirier KO 345 is plus 750. You can balance it out and get about plus 375 on that bet. I do think there's not an early KO here. I think if there's a KO, it comes late. Gaethje can absorb a ton of punishment. Poirier can absorb a ton of punishment. Unless he's getting caught like the fluke KO against, it happens. But like, I think for the most part, and it's another fight like the Kopylov-Ribeiro fight where they're going to have to respect each other's power. They're going to have to respect the adjustments. I think there's going to be, Poirier's going to be trying to bank those body shots. Gaethje's going to be trying to bank leg kicks. It's going to take time to build up. I don't see a lot of grappling in this fight. I know we can point to the Chandler fight with, I don't want to do that though, because I just kind of feel like this is going to be a 5-round war, just boxing, kickboxing, body shots. But I see Sean saying, I mean, look, man, I love me some split decision bets. It could, man. I don't want to clench my cheeks for 25 minutes rooting for a split decision there. So plus 375 is a good way to at least get both guys. As long as you don't get an early KO, I think this bet probably cashes. But we have made it to the favorite part of the show, the Yambag special. If you were watching for the first time, number one, shame on you. Watch the show every week. But number two, the Yambag special is a point deduction. It doesn't have to be a shot to the sack. It's just way better if it is. It's funnier. It's why I'm here. It's why I'm so mature at 45 years old. That I'm rooting for stack shots. Hey, man, Ben, you know how you're like this great marketing guy on Twitter? You know how you have a good brand?
Some would disagree.
not that I knew this would be the result, but as soon as somebody gets kicked in the sack during a fight, my Twitter explodes, man. Lou! I'm like, I watched.
You're like, I saw it. I was there.
Unless it's like a faux bag shot, like when a dude gets kicked right above the balls
and he's milking it.
No, he sells like, and I'm like, no, I do not and have not and will not ever celebrate a faux bag shot. It's not what this show is about. Not what I'm all about. You get kicked in the dick for real. But anyway, we are talking about point deductions. Ben, everybody in the chat is calling for one certain fight to be picked. Go ahead, brother. Because I got another one.
You got a different. I don't know if I feel like we should have the same one. This should all be unanimous. We're all on the same boat.
Yeah, but I like giving people. But what if people want to bet 2 fights? I got to give them a second look. So go ahead.
There's diversity. Diversity is great in 2023. However, I just don't see any other fight having a point deduction more likely than Priscilla Catchway somehow either eye gouging or just being a dirty fucking fighter. You know, Lou Betya, you said she's a known cheater. We've been though, right? Plus 2,000. She's going to be grounded. She's going to be frustrated. She is going to be searching for eyes, nose, mouth, any orifice. Priscilla Catchway is going to be sticking her fingers inside of it. And hopefully the referee in Salt Lake City, maybe he's Mormon, we don't know. He's going to go, nah, timeout. That's a point. Priscilla, you fucking idiot. You did it again. And we cash a plus 2,000 ticket. I hope he's Mormon. I wish there was an additional leg I could add if there's a Mormon referee, just to boost it further.
In the same game parlay, Mormon ref, eye gouge, submission. It's like plus 3,400 odds. So, I mean, look, I agree with that as the play as well. But just to give you guys a little different spin here, one thing. So, Ben, there's actually a science to this that we talk about on this show. So one thing I like to look for is Southpaw versus Orthodox. When the stances are open up, you do get more, indirect, friendly fire. So I looked at a couple of fights like that, and Semmelsberger Medic is that. Matthews and Flowers is sorry, that one's Orthodox and Orthodox. This is the one. But there's one that I like that I think goes a distance more often than not, despite what the line says, and that is CJ Vergara against Vinicius Salvador. So it's Southpaw versus Orthodox. I don't think there's going to be a lot of grappling in this. Vergara is not a guy going for takedowns. Salvador absolutely should not be going for takedowns. I don't love Vergara's cardio, but he does find a way to battle through it. And I absolutely do not like Vinicius Salvador's cardio. I could see a low blow or an eye poke just to buy himself time. I don't think Vergara is like this refined. I really don't think Vergara is that good. I don't really think Salvador is that good. So I have two unrefined strikers who are going to get warned about, eyes, keep your fingers, watch your fingers. Salvador throws a lot of kicks. Vergara throws enough kicks that I think this can come through. Obviously, I'm betting the Catchway one, but just to give you guys a point of reference, if you wanted to, you ever do round robins? You ever made that bet?
Of course I do round robins.
I knew you did.
My $1 parlays where it's 10 cents that I'm pumping in.
So if you wanted to spend $11 on a 4-leg yam bag round robin, you just pick two of your own. You pick the two we gave out. What do you think an $11 round robin of yam bags pays out if they all hit that? I want you to take a guess.
$11. I'm going to go with a cool 140,000.
$234,171.
Right.
If you hit two of them, that $1 play pays $441. And if you hit three of them, the 3-teamer pays. Sorry, I had this all priced out for Brady last night because this is what Brady and I talk about each and every week. Because he's also as mature as I am. If you hit a 3-teamer on a $1 bet, the 3-legger would pay $9,261, but you'd get an extra $1,323 for the 3 2-leggers that hit in that round robin as well. So,
wow.
If you want to make a lot of money and not spend a lot and also have the goddamn best story to tell your friends, that's the way to do it for a relatively. And if you don't want to win that much money, do 10 cents. And that's 20, and that's took $23,000 if all of them hit from a $1.10 bet.
I will say this, in terms of like point deduction fights, the main event certainly has a case for it too. There is an existing eye poke. And like you said, that stance, Poirier's got the southpaw, Gaethje's orthodox. He's got the tendency to fucking lower his dome and just reach out. It's what he did in the first fight. I think that's also a pretty solid look.
Yeah, New York definitely needs to get yam bags, especially because I will be in New York for the MSG card in November, and I'll have to make all my bets before I leave the great state of Pennsylvania and take the 2-hour trip to New York, or I have to have a proxy sitting at my computer,
somebody there, and being
like, put this in, put this. No, I just saw something. Put the ball shot in. Just do it,
dude.
It's under this. Just go. Just do it. Well, Ben, thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying the amount of times I've been sitting somewhere in a state where DraftKings or FanDuel doesn't allow me putting in bets, and I'm just watching the card going, okay, all of my actions busted. I need to make something new, and I can't. It's truly a nightmarish experience.
Well, Ben, we have reached the end. I also know you had a time frame today, which we have made easily easily on the show. Tell the people where they can find you, what you're up to next. You're going to have the best answer for this question than most of my guests because you got like 98 million things going on.
Not a ton. I've really slowed down, but it's at Ben the Bane Davis on all platforms. Truly appreciate all the support and love. APFC, Anthony Pettis' Fighting Championship. We're back on September 3rd. I've got a few things planned in August, some PFL coverage. I'll be in New York actually as well, working with PFL, doing some stuff. But there's one big thing in the pipeline with Karate Combat that's coming out in August, so stay tuned for that. It's another play-by-play gig. Can't say much about it, but stay tuned.
All right, Ben, because Dixon doesn't pay attention because this is his 90th video he's watched this week. We're just going to do a very, very, very quick recap for him. I have Darius Flowers KO 1 at 700, Ribeiro KO 2 plus 850. Holland, we both have the Kevin Holland sub plus 550. I have the Blachowicz sub plus 550. Gaethje and Poirier 345 KO at 800 and 750 respectively. And I took the Salvador Yambags. Ben, I know you have the Holland sub. I know you have the Green KO. I know you have the Poirier KO. I forgot your other two. You have Maverick submission.
Yep. And Pereira.
Michelle Pereira decision.
Yep.
And Catchway bags. Clam bags. It's clam bag for that.
It's clam bag for Priscilla.
So you can find me on Twitter at Lou Betya. I gave you guys the maybe content schedule I have coming up. Obviously, I've eased off a little bit these last few weeks. It's felt great to not see any of you in chat. I'm not going to lie. I've missed none of you. It's been excellent for my mental health, especially you, Dixon. I'm just kidding. But I will see you guys soon. Next Thursday, next Friday. Monk and I will be back next Thursday. We just don't know what time yet. Stay tuned for that. And we will see you guys later. Ben, show him that jab.
Whoop-a.